students' essay work, especially in Spectrum, and we are going to go into the Turnitin feedback studio. Okay, and the Turnitin feedback studio is there for you to be able to use the editing function and the assessment function to give marks to your students. So the session is actually it's a free session, so that means you are welcome to raise your hand and ask any questions you may have with regards to the questions or also issues that you have using Turnitin. So a little bit of caveat, we are going to focus only on using Turnitin in Spectrum. So we are not going to cover using Turnitin in the Turnitin web page itself, so the Turnitin app itself. So we focus on using Turnitin in Spectrum because as lecturers in you have access to Turnitin through your courses that you teach. Okay, so we are going to I'm going to share with you the screen, and as normal with UM's or with my training session in Spectrum, we are going to do this hands-on. So that means there will be no what you call lecture notes or PowerPoint, but we are going to dive into Spectrum, and we are going to go through the settings one by one. And I would also suggest that you try and do the same that I did in the Spectrum pages, so that then it builds up your memory on how to use the Spectrum. Okay, so before you start any courses or you start any assessment or essay work with students in Spectrum, you need to actually go in and log into your Spectrum. So you can see I'm already logged in my system, and what I will do is I will choose one of the courses that I'm teaching, so that then you can see how we program the essay work, also the assessment or the assignment using Turnitin, okay, in Spectrum. Okay, so as normal, what you would normally do is in your Spectrum pages. So this is my Spectrum pages that I'm teaching this semester. Of course, you would want to turn the editing on, so that then we know we can actually do the edits here. And I've actually created a task here, but I will just recreate another task, so that then you can see how to create a task in Spectrum. Okay, if you have any questions, just feel free to raise your hand, and then I will address, and then you can turn on your mic, and I will address your questions. Okay, you can also put in your questions in the chat function, and then I will try and look at it from there. Okay, so hopefully you are looking at my Spectrum page right now, and what we are going to do to create a new Spectrum page, or sorry, we are going to create a new Turnitin assignment is by clicking this add an activity or resources. Okay, if you can't see this button on your Spectrum, remember to click the turn editing on at the top here. Okay, so once you can see this button, then you are sure that you can actually edit the class information, and also to add new activities and resources. Okay, so I'm going to create uh, the the practice spectrum using this add an activity button. Just click there. Okay, you will be presented with pop-up. Can you see the pop-up? Sometimes the pop-up does not appear when you share screen. Can anyone confirm?
Yes, we can see.
Yes.
Can see the pop-up. Okay, very good. Okay, so the turn-in function is actually at the lower right-hand corner here. Okay, it's called turn-in assignment 2. So don't worry about the name. It is actually the name of the plugin itself. So it doesn't really mean that it's two in anything. It's just the way that turn-in itself name the module, and we cannot really change this because I've received requests from lecturers asking, please delete the two at the end of turn-in assignment 2. Actually, we cannot do that. It's the name of the plugin that was installed, and it's there whether you like it or not. Okay, so just click on turn-in assignment 2. Okay, so wait for it to load. All right, and you will be presented with this page. So this is where we create the assignment rules for the students. Anything with the exclamation mark here is mandatory, so you need to put the title and also the submission type. Okay, so the name of the assignment is what you would normally name your assignment. So it can be assignment 1 or 2, okay, or assign. Let's say I'm putting this assignment. Okay, and then the summary is where you write the instructions for the student. So we write the instructions here. And it can be the length of the assignment, the length of the words, or the length of the essay. You can also discuss or describe the nature of the essay or the title of the essay. You can also specify the format for the essay in here, okay, and other things. So normally I would put in this is the summary or the instructions for my students, the length of the essay, the title, what I want the students to discuss. I sometimes put in the conditions to get good grades in there. I sometimes put in also the uh, the uh, the way that the students have to write the essay. So how to write their sentences and things like that. I also warn them about plagiarism. So this is another thing that I like to do in my summary. And other things. You can choose to show the instruction to your students in the Spectrum page by clicking on this display description on the course page. I will show you how or what it would look like later. Okay, but I'll just leave it like this. So I'll choose to display the description on the course page. You don't have to do this. You can actually leave it unchecked, and once the students go in, they will be able to actually see the summary or the instructions that you put in there. Okay, so any submission type, normally for essay, we allow students to write their own work in Word file first. So I always choose file upload, but you can, if you would like to, use the text submission. So that means the students type their work in Spectrum in Turnitin itself. Okay, so I'm going to choose file upload. You can have several parts for the essay. Okay, normally for simple essay, we just use one part. So that means just one submission for students. The the reason to choose multiple parts for the essay might be, for example, if you want the students to write progressively. Okay, so that means you may have 2 or 3 subjects that you want students to write. Okay, and then you can have different due dates for those different parts. Then you can set the parts to more than one. So you can have a choice between 1 to 5 parts for the number of parts that you choose. Okay, maximum file size, you just leave it as site upload limit, so you don't really have to change anything here. Okay, allow submission of any file type. You can either choose yes or no. Normally I will just choose yes, so that means students can upload their Word file, they can upload their files that they did in PDF. Okay, the thing is, please make sure that students don't upload an image file. So that means sometimes I came across students uploading image files containing text in them. So in a way, they are trying to sort of fool the system, because the system does not recognize text in an image form. Okay, so it's either a PDF file or a Word file, the normal Word file that we normally have. Okay, and then another rule that we would like to set, and I like to set this this way. So that means I display the similarity reports to the students. I always choose yes there. Okay, and the reason why I do that is because I want the students to be able to go back to their essay and to rewrite if they see that the similarity score or the similarity index is high. Normally, I set my similarity index for the students to 25%. So that means, and I normally put the requirements in the summary. Okay, so I put them, what is my similarity index? Let's get my acceptable. So my acceptable report. Another one. All right, so we set this as yes, and then the grade display, you can put it as percentage or fraction. I just put it normally as fractions, doesn't really matter. And then auto refresh grades and scores, I just set this to yes. We don't really have to change anything here. Okay, so that it will automatically refresh whatever scores and grades that students get when they submit and then they resubmit. Okay, so that is the first part of the general rule for the Turnitin. Any questions so far? Okay, if there's no question, then we can move to the second part, which is grade. Okay, so the grades for Turnitin, it's either point or scale. Okay, there's two. And normally for essay, because we give marks to the students, you give it as point. Okay, and that is you can either put it as maximum grade as 100, or if you have a lower score for the maximum grade, then you can put it in. And the beauty of the system is that it will aggregate and factor whatever marks that you give, especially when you are using rubrics, to the maximum grade that you set in the system. So for my purpose, and for this demonstration as a webinar purpose, I will just leave this as 100. Okay, because it will make it easier for us to transfer this mark into our Maya system later. Okay, because in Maya it always based on 100, isn't it? For each of the assignment that we put in there. Okay, so once you've created the assignment parts as one, you will see the parts will appear here. So we can actually name uh, this part. If you have, for example, 3 parts, then 3 will appear. Okay, so let me show you what it looks like. Okay, so I set this to 3. Okay, so now automatically you can see there are 3 parts to the assignment: part 1, part 2, and part 3, and you can have a different start and due date and post date for all those parts. Okay, so I'm going to just set this to 1 because I just want to have a simple assignment that students submit, and then they can resubmit. Okay, looking at the similarity score. Okay, so I'm going to name this the main essay. Okay, and then I set the date to today. That's okay. I didn't have to change anything. So the due date you can also set. So you can set the due date until whatever date that you like. Just be sure with when will you want the students to submit their work. Okay, so that is the due date, the start date and the due date. The post date is the date where you post the marks to all the students. So let's take this hypothetical question or hypothetical situation. So we set the due date to 3rd of June. Okay, and then we set our post date to, let's say, 15th of June. So what does that mean? So it means that between the 3rd and the 15th, the 3rd of June and 15th of June, we have the time for us to give our assessment or do our assessment of the work by the students. Okay, but the students, all students, will be able to see the marks after 15 June at 2 o'clock. Okay, so we set this at 2 o'clock. So after 2 o'clock on 15 June, everybody will receive their marks. And we have the time period of that 2 weeks to mark each of the coursework or the essay that the student submitted. So that is the difference between start date, due date, and also the post date. Okay, so that is quite easy. It is quite self-explanatory. So the start date is when the date.
Excuse me.
Yes, yes.
Encik Zahiruddin, boleh tanya ke?
Boleh.
Okay. How do they receive their marks?
Okay, they will receive the marks through Spectrum. So they will be able to see the marks in Spectrum.
Do we mark the assignments?
Yes, we mark the assignment in the system.
In the system. Okay, okay. Yeah. I understand. Thank you.
Okay, so any more question from anyone else? No question? Okay, all right. So so going back to our discussion just now, so the start date is when the assignment starts, the due date is when the students have to submit, and then the post date is when students will see the marks that we gave them in the system. All right, so similarity report option. Okay, so this is something that I also like to make sure and to customize myself. So the similarity report option here, you have several things that you can choose. The first one is allow submission after the due date. I always put this as yes. Okay, and the reason I would argue that if you put this as no, what happens is you will get students calling you, giving sending you emails and WhatsApp you asking for you to open the submission window. Okay, so I always put this as yes, and knowing that I can penalize them quietly when I do the marking. Okay, so I just put this as yes. Okay, report generation speed, I leave this as it generates report immediately. So that means the students can submit and resubmit until the due date. But after 3 submissions, so that means after 3 times they resubmit the work, the report will generate after 24 hours. And you will find that the report generation speed also depend on which time of the year you are. Okay, so normally towards the end of the semester, probably starting from week 10 or week 9, the reports will actually generate much later. Okay, so if you give the students, for example, an essay work, and they have to submit probably in 1 or 2 weeks time now, early in the semester, then actually the report will generate quite fast. So less than 15 minutes, the students will be able to see their similarity reports. Okay, and then store student papers. So this is another important thing that you want to check. Okay, I want to make sure. Okay, so if you put as no repository, the Turnitin will not save the paper in its repository. Okay, and then if you choose standard repository, what the Turnitin will do, it will actually store the document in its database, in this repository. So whenever students submit their work, if you choose standard repository, it will compare any work that is stored inside the standard repository with the document submitted by the students. So when do you choose this, no repository or standard repository? So I would argue like this. If you use the same title over and over again, I would suggest that you click on you allow standard repository. Okay, so that means you choose standard repository. And the reason why I say that is because when you reuse submission or essay title over and over again over several semesters, then you want to make sure that the students don't copy the work of their seniors. Okay, so having the Turnitin system storing students' work in the standard repository, it will check against the past papers. Okay, that uses the same title and also the same title. So that means if students are copying the work of their seniors, then it will show up. If you don't want the students to if you don't want the students' work to be submitted into the standard repository, just click on no repository, and then that means the students' work will not be stored in the Turnitin system. And then if there is any similarity with the work that is being done by their seniors, then it will not pick it up. Okay, so you balance the need for that, and I believe that you will be able to judge whether you need that or not. Okay, and then we can also check against stored student papers, of course. So I normally will put this as yes. Check against internet, I will just put it as yes. Against journal, periodical publications, of course. Exclude bibliography, I just put it as yes. Okay, so that means when you say exclude bibliography, anything that appears after the reference section, it will not be matched with the similarity index. Okay, because bibliography format is different. Referencing format is always the same, isn't it? It's either we use APA, we use Harvard, or we use several other referencing format. And of course, if students are using the same referencing standard, then it will show up. So I normally will exclude bibliography in this case. And quoted material or scope can also be excluded. So to use exclude quoted materials, you need to tell the students to make sure that they put in the double parenthesis in anything that they quoted. Alright. Exclude small matches. So small matches actually allows us to exclude any matches that is not really that long. So you can choose how many small matches of words, the choice of words that you want. I normally put between 8 to 12. Okay, in this instance, I put in 10 words. So that means if the word in the essay is repetitive, okay, so you have the 10 words is repetitive between different students, it will exclude that. All right. And then so this is the setting for similarity report option. So these are quite important as well for you to actually check which one do you want. Okay, and then grade mark option, you can actually choose to attach a rubric to your work. I will talk about this a little bit later. You can actually choose whether you have your own rubrics, or you can choose a different rubric that you wanted to use. Okay, so I'm going to keep this for a little bit later. And then the other ones, things like outcome, common module setting, restrict access, activity completion, you don't really have to change anything within this. Okay, you just it's complete if you just do it until the grade mark option. Okay, so that then you know, so these are the rules that you impose on the student's work. Okay, before we move on to the turn-in itself, do you have any questions? Is there any questions that you want to ask?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so
Dr.
yes.
Zahiruddin,
Yep.
just want to ask for the document that we want to upload, the students wants to upload, can it be password protected?
No.
Cannot.
So yeah, no. So
okay.
it needs to be an open document. So make sure they disable the password protection before they upload the document. So don't. So if you worry about like safety, so you don't have to, because the system, when students upload, they will not be able to see other people's submission. The students will only see their own submission.
Okay, understood. Thank you so much.
Alright. Okay, so Dr. Wan Sharina.
Ya, Assalamualaikum Dr. Zahiruddin.
Baik,
Just nak tanya berkenaan dengan yang start date, due date dengan post date tu, like for my assignment kan, like students will have to submit the assignment a week after their tutorial presentation. So like every week I would expect 4 students to submit their presentation lah, because they all present different weeks kan. So katakan after they submit tu, I terus mark their assignment, tapi they will only get the assignment masa post date tu ke, ataupun
betul.
masa post date?
Masa post date.
Tak kisahlah I mark like every week I mark, but they will only get their marks on the post date tu lah.
Ya, betul. Kalau doktor nak nak benarkan student terus dapat markah, buat due date dengan post date tu samalah. Kan? Jadi macam tadi kan, due date ni 3 Jun kan. Jadi post date ni letak je 3 Jun. Jadi automatically student akan bila doktor dah siap mark, dia orang terus dapat tengok.
Yeah, but the issue is macam I buat due date tu is like for the last group of student punya submission is a week after their presentation kan. So that is the last date for the 4 students yang submit tu lah, yang presented the last on the 14 week tu. So maknanya the students yang present earlier on tu, maknanya they all submit their assignment tu a week after their presentation. So maknanya if they present week 4, week 5 dah mark dah.
Maknanya dia orang tu dapat lah markah dia.
Okay, continuous assessment tu kan kena bagi awal kan, before kita start exam semua tu kan. So they need enough time to get their marks lah. Tapi it's okay lah, I can just buat due date dengan post date sama lah. So should be no problem lah ya. Alright, okay, thank you.
Alright, Dr. Sherry.
Okay, thank you. Actually, I wanted to ask about the report generation speed, Dr. Zahiruddin. I don't know whether I understand this correctly. When the student submits the assignment, they can see their result, the Turnitin result.
Yes.
The similarity.
Yes, so, almost immediately. So within 15 minutes, they will be able to see it.
So if the results is more than what's supposed to be, let's say it's 20%, but I only allow 15%, they can resubmit. That's why you
Yes,
allow
they
3
can.
resubmissions.
Yes, exactly.
So we can limit the amount of.
So what I would normally do is I put the acceptable similarity report score, so that the students will be able to see, okay, my acceptable similarity report score that I put in my instruction is, let's say, 25%. So when they see their report is 30%, for example, or 40%, then they can actually redo their work and then resubmit immediately.
I understand. One more question. Let's say I don't want to mark it on this. So I can off it. Let's say I want to do it not on Spectrum. Can I do?
I mean, yeah, you can do that as well. But I think if you don't do it in Spectrum, then you lose one functionality of the Spectrum and the Turnitin system lah. So it's like you have a sports car, but then you just use it as a bicycle, for example. But yeah, I mean, it's up to you if you have to use it or not.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, so let's move into the Turnitin itself. Okay, so once you've created the work, and then you put in all the similarity by option, the assignment parts, and then the grades and everything else, then let's save this assignment. And remember, just now I told you about display description on course page. So here you will see how it would look like in your Spectrum page. So I click on save and return to course. So remember, after everything, please make sure that you click the save button. Otherwise, all the rule that you set will not appear or will not be there. Okay, so here you can see that you can see the instructions is actually being written here. Okay, so compare that to my so this is my actual assignment I give to students. I don't check that. Okay, so you can see that the assignment itself is just the title. There is no instructions. But once the students click in here, so let me change my role to students. Switch to students. Okay. So the students will be able to see the instruction because I checked the box just now. And for this one, which I did not check the box, when I click individual essay, then the students will be able to see the actual assignment. Okay, so let's wait for it to. Okay, so this is what the students will see. Okay, and this is actually quite recent. I sent this to the students just yesterday, so 4th of April. And so the summary is where I put in the instructions. Okay, so I put in write an essay discussing variation of prices, clause in construction contract, blah blah blah, and then this is the instruction: 3,000 words, reference, headings and subheading, and then it's going to be done through Turnitin, and with 25 similarity score will be rejected outright. Okay, and then the duration of the coursework also I give this, and also what are the marks for the students. So this is how the system would look like to the students once they go into the system, and what you will actually see when you go in after you save the students' work. So this is what you will see. Okay, so this is where then the students actually use the submit paper to actually submit their work. So what they will do is they will go in here and then submit their paper. Okay, so what it will show is hopefully you can see the pop-up. Can anyone confirm? Sometimes see the pop-ups then does not appear. So it shows the file upload, and then what is the submission title. So ask the students to put in their title. Sometimes they just put in the name of the assignment, and then the file submission. So they just drop their files in them. So to the system. So it either will be your Word file or the student's Word file or the student's PDF files. Okay, and then when he or she clicks the add submission, the file will be submitted. Okay, so this is the first part of your work of the assignment. So let me show you how we mark the students' work. Okay, so for that I need to go into the archive because we will not be able to see what happens from the last time. Okay, because we don't have a course yet. Sorry, we don't have any submissions yet in the students' work. Okay, so let me go in and look at my courses. Okay, so this is let me see. Okay. So let's look at an older archive. Hopefully we have a Turnitin. Okay, so here we have Turnitin assignment. Okay, so this is what the feedback or the graduate the what you will see when students have submitted their work. Okay, so this is what it will look like. You will be able to see the student's name, okay, the submission title, and then the paper ID. So you don't have to worry about this. Submitted. So this is where you check for students whether they submitted early or late. Okay, so you can so anything that's red, that means it's submitted after the due date. So now you can actually slowly or quietly penalize the students for their tardiness. All right, and then you have similarity score. You can actually click this and see what are the highest or the lowest. Okay, and then of course the grades will be empty because you have not given marks yet. But for the students that you have given marks, the grade will appear here. Okay, so let's look at the grading option. Okay, and how we use rubrics in our Turnitin. Because just now when we are doing the Turnitin, I have not shown you how to apply rubrics yet, isn't it? So let me go back to this. Okay, so in order for you to apply rubrics in your Turnitin, so what you need to do, so I need to go back as a lecturer. So this is my student role, or the switch to student's role. Okay, so this is what I will see as a lecturer, and you will see the list of the student's name. You can actually allow everything, so you can see that nobody has submitted their work yet. Okay, and you can see these are the information of the work. Okay, so you have the start date, the due date, the post date, marks available. Okay, and once the students have started to submit their work, you can actually see an export button here. So that means you can actually download everything. So for the lecturer who want to download and give marks separately, then you can use this export button. Okay, so let's look at rubrics for the Turnitin. Okay, so go back to edit settings. Okay, just click on the button here, the gear button. Okay, and okay, so I don't want to change this. This is my my live assignment. So let me go back and work on the testing assignment. Okay, so with the edit settings, again, the gear button, click on edit settings. Okay, wait to load. Okay, so in a grade mark option, okay, I can now choose a rubric that I wanted. Okay, so I have already my own rubrics that I've created. Okay, but for you, if you are first time doing this, you can actually launch the Rubric Manager. Okay, so that you can start choosing rubrics and start customizing the rubrics based on what you need. Okay, so the rubric that is presented here. So hopefully you can see the pop-up. Please confirm that you can see the pop-up.
Yes, can see.
Okay. All right. So there are several rubrics that's embedded in Turnitin. So for example, so this is all the embedded rubric in Turnitin. You can also create your own rubrics. Okay. So if you want to create your own rubrics, it's at the top here. So you can click create a new rubric, and then it will give you this page that you can customize the rubric. So you can put in the rubric name. So that, for example, I will put in Zahir's new rubric. Okay, and then I can put in the criteria and also the skills. You can customize the criteria. So for example, criteria 1, probably let's put it as format. Okay. The criteria 2, let's put it as structure. Okay. Then criteria 3, language. Okay. And then criteria 4, referencing. Okay. If you want to add more criteria, just click on the plus sign, here. Okay, and it will add a new criteria that you can use or edit. So let's say, for example, this criteria is structure, language, referencing, format, let's say fonts. That's the idea. Okay, all right. And then, of course, with the scale, you can do the same. Okay, so you can have scale 1, scale 2, scale 3. You can add this. So let's say more scale, so that you can have 4 scales. And then scale 1, maximum marks could be like 5. And then scale 2, you go to 4. And scale 3, go to 3. And then scale 4 from 2. Okay, and if you want to add more scale, you just click on add. And then of course the criteria, you can actually describe your criteria. So what gives the student 5 marks? What gives the students 2 marks, 4 marks? Okay, and an example of those rubrics can actually be seen in any of the example that's given here. Okay, let's say for example, just switch, yes, okay. So this is a predetermined rubrics that the system has set. So, and you can actually use this. You can also, what you want to do is you can edit the rubric and make it yourself. So what you do is you click on duplicate this rubric. So what will happen? It will duplicate it. Okay, and then you can start editing all these things. Just now, before we click on the duplicate, we cannot edit, isn't it? So now, after we click on duplicate, we can actually edit that. Okay. So that is how you create and also how you customize rubrics for your own use. So let's say, for example, I'm going to use my own rubrics that I've created. So after you've created and saved the rubrics, you will find that the rubrics will appear at the bottom here. Okay, so after you're done creating and customizing the rubrics that you want, what you do is that you can change or you can select the rubric that you want to use. Okay, so for example here, I'm going to use the BAC essay new. So that's a rubric that I created. Okay, so again, click save and display. So now the students will be able to view the rubrics and the content of the rubrics before they submit their work. Okay, any questions there? Okay, so if there's no question, so we'll move to the last part. So, and we have about 15 minutes to go. So the last part that I'm going to tell you or talk about is the feedback studio. Okay, so Turnitin Feedback Studio is a way for us to give marks to the students based on the rubrics that we've created, and also put annotations in the Turnitin page for the students, so that they will be able to see where their work needs upgrading, where their work is good, and where mistakes are found in their rubrics. And we do that as the students' feedback. And we can also do something else, which is something that I really like, which is to give feedback, direct feedback to students. Okay, so let's say I'm going to take this one, okay, as the example. Okay, so bear in mind that the students have been given marks for this work. So it's taking its time to load. Hopefully the system is responding well. Oops. Okay, so let's try again. Hopefully it's working. Okay. So this is Turnitin Feedback Studio. Okay, so Turnitin Feedback Studio is a place where you can preview your students' work and also give marks to them. So remember, just now we have used rubrics, isn't it? The rubric will actually appear for you to give the marks to the students on the right hand side here. Okay, so if you click on this layers of papers, okay, you click there, you can actually activate the grading layer and also the similarity layer. Okay, so notice that when I click on the similarity layer, what happens is that the where the similarity is found, it will note like this. Okay, so this similarity index is actually quite low, just 1%. So, and you will normally find things like this. The title of the essay is being marked as something that is similar, and of course, everybody will have the same title, and that's why you need to be able to be smart and to be able to exclude any thing that is like this. So I found sometimes my name appears as marked in the similarity report because I'm the one giving the assignment. Of course, everybody will just use my name, so I can exclude that. The title of the essay you can also exclude. Okay, and the way to exclude the similarity score, okay, is by going into the match overview. Okay, so you can see here the match overview. If you click on the number there, you'll be able to see. So this is the match, and what I can do as a lecturer, as the marker, you can actually go down, and then you can exclude sources. Okay, so you click on exclude sources, and then of course, so this, it says that submitted to University of University Malaya. Okay, and this is based on student papers, so student papers, 2 papers, and of course we know because this is actually student work that's given to them by their peers. So just exclude that. Okay, so when you click exclude to, it will automatically then delete and give you the exclusion. Okay, for that. Maybe this is not quite apparent because the similarity max, the similarity index is actually just 1. So if I choose a work that has high similarity index, then you can see what it would look like. Okay, so let's try and Okay, so use this one. So this has high similarity index. Okay, so again, turn on the active layers. Okay, and then click on this. So here you can see, so this student actually collects a lot of the similarity from this paper. Okay, this paper. So that's why the students got only 6 marks. It's I don't really give 0 marks to students. So so that's why you still get marks because you still did some work. Okay, but you can see automatically that these students actually copied a lot from this internet source, and we can actually see. So these are the places where the students are copying. Okay, and it's actually throughout the paper. So mark number 1, everything is actually being copied from these sources. And of course, this is where you catch students not being honest with the work when they did not cite their references properly. And we know from the similarity score and the markings in the feedback studio that this is where they copy. Okay, so that's why I believe that when we have this turn-in, it's best is for us to actually use the feedback studio for us to see where students are doing where students are copying, where students are using their own work, and all of this. Okay, so this is looking at the similarity index. Okay, so the next one I want to show is actually the marking. Okay, how do we do marking in feedback studio for turn-in? So what we do is we use the rubric that we created just now. So this is a rubric that I've used, okay, for this work. You can see that all these rubrics is actually being shown as how it's presented in the rubric manager just now. So you can actually then just use the slider, and you will see that what the scales give you will be different. Okay, so this is based on how you customize the rubrics. And of course, after you've done choosing the right rubrics for everything else, you just click on apply to grade, and automatically the grade will actually appear as a factor of the grade or the rubric score that is given. Okay, so 0.3 out of 5 is actually 6 over 100. Okay, and another thing that I would like to point out is actually you can have this quick marks. Okay, so there are 3 interesting things here. So quick marks, and then feedback summary, and rubrics. Okay. So the quick mark is where you put in commonly used markers so that students know where they have gone wrong. Okay, so for example, so you want to say, so this is citation not in reference, for example. So you just click on that. Sorry, okay. So you click on this, and then you go to quick mark, and then you click cited. So the students will know here. So this is a citation not in reference, for example. Okay, and then you can also use. And there are many other things that you can use. So, for example, let's say we mark this, and we want to comment something which is personalized to the students. Okay, so you can actually put your comment here. Okay, you can type quite long for the comment. Okay, and then you just click on anywhere, and you will save. So the students will see is this. So this is a comment that you leave for them. Okay, and the comment is there. Okay, so this is how we use quick marks so that the students can improve their work later. Okay, so one last thing that I wanted to show you is the feedback summary. So the feedback summary is a feedback that we do give to the students. There are 2 types of feedback. that you can do. First is the text comment. So you edit or you write a text for the students. But what I particularly like to do is the voice comment. Okay, so the voice comment allows me to personalize my comment to the students based on what they have written. Okay, so so this is already created. The comments are already created, so it looks like this. So let's try and let me just delete this. Okay, so when I delete that, so this is what the lecturer will see. So of course you need to have a mic for this to work. So you click on record a voice, and then you can start talking. And you have 3 minutes. You can see here 3 minutes to record your personal comment to the students based on their work in Turnitin Studio or Feedback Studio. And after you're done, you just click, you can pause if you want to. You can resume the recording if you want. And then also you can stop recording. After you stop recording, then you can click on save, so that then the students will be able to hear the voice comment that you need for them. Okay, so that is the beauty of using Turnitin Feedback Studio for you to give marks to the students. And the end result, what you get is the marks that you give is actually reflected in Turnitin like this. This is actually a Turnitin page. Sorry, this is a Spectrum page, and everything is actually updated in here. So marks that you give the students will appear here, and remember, it will appear only be available to the students after the post dates. Okay, so that is how Turnitin Feedback Studio works. Okay, any question? Yes, Yohanis.
Dr. Zahir.
Yep.
Okay, for instance, macam course like final year project, so you are not the instructor, but students are allowed to actually choose their supervisor for their project. So the thing is that if you were to do this, the supervisor won't have the access to it because they are not the instructor for the subject, right?
Okay, so my answer to that is that what my departments do is for final year project, there will be one coordinator who's in charge of the course code, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the course code will so the coordinator will create a Turnitin assignment in the Spectrum and invite every lecturer as co-instructor.
How does the coordinator do that?
Okay, so so this is a different subject. Okay. So what the coordinator does is actually to in the course itself. Okay, so you click on edit settings, and then you click on more. Okay, and then for users, you can actually enroll your fellow lecturer as a co-instructor.
I see. Okay.
So here you can search. So what you do is you click on enroll user, and then you assign role here as co-instructor.
Okay.
Okay, and then you type in their name. Or it is best if you have the UMail. So you have the UMail, just type in. So for example, if I type in Johannes and I search, and you will see you have your name there. I can enroll you.
Okay.
So that's how you can enroll more co-instructors in the.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. Dr. Shari.
Okay. Sometimes at the end of the this is for exam. For exams, let's say the student appeals the results, and then there'll be a second marker. So how do they access?
Okay, I think it's the same. It's the same. I think it's the same answer as what I gave to you. So you invite them as co-instructor, and then they can actually go in and look at the submission.
But can we, if we were to print out, or can we download, not print, download and save it? Yeah, can without comments. with all
Yeah,
the
you can.
comments.
Yeah. So you can actually go in, and then just now, oops, where is it? Okay, yeah. So you can now export all this. So you export the student's work. Okay, export either to PDF, okay, or to original format. So you can download the student's work from there.
Okay, so the marks will be on the assignment.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any more question? Okay, so I hope the explanation I gave is clear. I intentionally make this a short one because then it will give you the benefit of being able to get this quickly, and also it's also to the benefit of those who are not here in the session, so then they don't have to go through a 2 hour recording of videos, and then they can see what they need to do with Turnitin. Okay, and hopefully, although it is quite a fast session, you can actually go back into the recording later and review things that you might need to review. Okay, so I think that's all that we have for today. Hopefully, it has been useful for you to create your assignment with your students, and also for you to give marks inside the system and use the functionality that's available in our Turnitin system to make your marking work a little bit easier. Okay, so I think with that, thank you very much, and hopefully I will be seeing you in a different training session. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Bye bye.
Yeah.
Dr. Zahir,
Yeah.
Bay here.
Yep.
I just like to ask a question just now on the final year project. Yeah, because if there's a lecturer who is in charge, it's like whole faculty. So you're talking about hundreds and more, probably 300. So I don't think it's plausible for the person to do it. Let's
Mhm.
say I have 2 students under me.
Mhm.
How can I put it? Let's say I already have that copy. How can I put it inside the Turnitin? Can I
Okay.
separately?
What? Yeah, well, I think what I would suggest is you. So if you are teaching them, if you are also teaching them in a different subject, you just create like a repository of Turnitin for that 2 students in your subject that you are teaching them. So it's just a special Turnitin for just the 2 of them.
Oh,
You can do that. Because
how,
there's no limit for you to create more Turnitin sessions.
how do I create that repository? Extra
So
repository?
So that means what you do is you go into your Spectrum. So let me I can share my screen.
Because if those under my course code, then it's easy because it's already in the system.
So of course you need to have the students who is doing the thesis in a class that you are teaching at that time. Okay, so for example, if you are in semester 1, for example, and you have those 2 students in one of the courses that you're teaching in semester 1, so you just create an assessment or an assignment for them in that course, so that then they will be able to submit their work in that. So what you do is you again. So this is the old Spectrum. The new one is not working. Okay, so again, just turn edit on, and then you just create apa? You guys create an activity and just choose Turnitin. so that then you can actually then they can upload the work for into Turnitin. The other type or the other option that you can do is, for example, the students are fourth year students, but you only teach second year students. Okay, so another option to do that is actually to just create a dummy Turnitin in your second year student page. Okay, and then you restrict the access to all the students. To upload the student's thesis in there, you just upload it manually yourself. So the students will not be able to upload their work. You will have to do the uploading of the work on their behalf, so that then the system can actually check and look at and see the similarity index or similarity score for the two students that you are teaching. Hopefully that helps.
Yes, because the second option that you mentioned just now, so I upload it myself. So I create a dummy repository, right?
Yes.
I see. So I can create it in any of my course.
Yes, any of your active course.
I see. Okay. Then I upload it myself.
Yes, you can upload it yourself.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. I've learned a lot.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
Always very dedicated. Thank you.